Well, hey, welcome back. Welcome back to the shop. You are joining me right here at Party's Shop Shenanigans. Hey, in the last episode, you might remember I was getting a little windy, so I broke it into two parts. I'm working on Stanley, my 1962 Chevy C20 Pick-up. Got that service bed back there that I think is kind of cool. Little 235 straight 6-cylinder engine in it. Appears to be in pretty good shape. Now I've gone through and I've cleaned up the distributor and set the points. I've checked compression in all 6 cylinders. I checked the timing, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And in this video, I'm going to tear apart the carburetor, put a carburetor kit in it, and let's see if we can't go whiz bang. I think we're almighty close. Thanks for joining me. Let's just get back at it, shall we? Oh, look, a light all ready for us. So we've already checked compression in all the 6 cylinders here. And before I switch over to the carburetor, let's set the timing. Now, an engine has to run in a certain firing order. The spark plugs fire 1, 6, 4, 3, 2, 5, I think it is on this. And that's determined by this distributor, this rotor in the distributor that goes round and round. Sends power out to the spark plug wires so that each spark plug gets a spark. Well, that has to happen within a certain timing or a sequence. So to figure out a starting point, we need to get our number 1 cylinder at top dead center in the compression stroke. See if you can hear this. I'm going to put my finger over the thumb over the hole, see if you can hear this. Okay, that's the compression stroke. So I want, when it's all the way to the top, is where I'm going to get my cylinder, and then I want to see just exactly where the rotor is pointing. Let's zoom in on that. So this is the rotor in the distributor, and you notice it's pointing right out to the front. Here's the spark plug wire that goes to number 1 cylinder. So what I can tell is it's lined up right here with this rotor. That means that for this engine to run, I need spark to come out here and to the spark plug just as number 1 cylinder comes to the top of its stroke. Now, on a more modern engine, newer engine, you actually have timing marks up on the harmonic balancer, which is at the front of the engine. It'll have harmonic balancer, it'll have a mark on it, and then it's got a little indicator that mark passes, and you put a timing light on it, a little strobe that fires every time the spark plug number 1 fires, and you can line up the strobe and the mark to set your timing. Well, on this old engine, the timing marks are actually clear at the back of the engine on the flywheel. So I'm going to zoom in here. I hope you can see that. Kind of hard to do here, but I'm going to point at it. You can see right through the housing here. See this little pointer? See that sharp little pointer? So as I turn this engine just a tiny bit to get it to top dead center, you're going to see some marks show up. It's really hard to see in a video like this. But there they are, little ball bearing. That tells me that I'm at top dead center to set my timing. Once I get the engine running, I can twist this distributor after or before so that the spark plug and this rotor can line up. Either the rotor can be just before the spark plug or just after the spark plug in its rotation in relationship to top dead center. So there's a lot going on there. I realize this is hard to see, but keep in mind that for a starting point, if you can get number 1 cylinder to top dead center in the compression stroke, you can find where your rotor is pointing. Your distributor cap fits on the distributor and fits just a certain way. If you can line up the rotor with cylinder number 1 or spark plug number 1, you've got your starting point. Now, once we get the engine running, hopefully in this episode, we can set the timing by either rotating the distributor to advance it, meaning this rotor is going to send power to the distributor just before the cylinder comes to top center, or retard it where the rotor comes to send fire to the cylinder just after top dead center. Kind of a technical thing. If you've set timing, you know what that means, but there's an adjustment so we can actually rotate this distributor to set the timing. So that's what setting the timing is all about. A couple of you had asked. That's not really setting the timing, that's just getting a starting point, but so you understand the relationship to top dead center, the spark plug wire and the distributor cap being lined up with the rotor. And yeah, there you have it. There's some other videos that do a lot better job of explaining that, but right now all we really want to do is see if we can get Stanley put back together. So it appears that we have fire, we had good spark, we know we have good compression. The three things that an internal combustion engine needs to operate is fuel, air, and fire. And then it gets combusted, compacted tight for an explosion. So we know we have compression, we know we have fire, we have spark, we know we have air coming in, but we've got a fuel issue. Even though I dumped a little in here, it doesn't want to fire up. So I'm just going to go ahead and take the time right now. We're going to pull this carburetor off and tear it down. I bought a rebuild kit for it. Let's go through that and see what happens. And there we have it. It's a 1-barrel Rochester carburetor, and it's a bit crunchy. It's a bit dirty. I've bought this rebuild kit for it here. You can pick up based on make and model sometimes, but more importantly is you have to get what kind of carburetor it is. A lot of carburetors will actually have a number stamped right on them. In this case, they only made 2 versions, so it was pretty easy to get the one I needed. So next steps will be to tear this guy apart. Now, I've mentioned don't be afraid to try, and that is still true. Know that carburetors have a lot of internal parts. There's always that one little ball bearing that'll come out as a check valve that people will miss and wonder why their car floods and it won't start. So be extra aware of what you're doing if you're going to take a carburetor apart. Also know that unlike a lot of parts, when you get a carburetor kit, once you break this seal, you cannot return it. So you want to gently and carefully take things apart, look at your gaskets, try to match them up through the plastic, see that it's really the correct kit before you tear this open. I think this one was $35, which isn't a great amount of money, but hey, that's 2 steaks on the Traeger for the wife and I. Okay, I'll tear this apart. We'll be back. I like to tear stuff like this apart where I can contain everything. This carburetor is going to be full of gas as I dump it out here. This is called the bowl. There's going to be a float in there that has a valve that shuts off the fuel so it doesn't flood and lets fuel in as that bowl is drained. So it's messy. I like to do that stuff where I can contain it. Plus, if parts come out, well, they're all contained. Okay, let's get this tore apart. There's that ball bearing I'm talking about. Okay, so good news is when you pump this, watch this. That's the fuel pump. I'm sorry, the accelerator pump. When you step on the gas, it needs extra fuel, so that's working. But look down inside of here. You see how crudded up this is? Chances are this has got some ports in here and some jets that are not happy, and it's not delivering fuel like we need. So I'm going to tear this the rest of the way down. I'm going to get it in some cleaner and probably let it sit overnight, and we'll come back on another day and put it back together. Well, a day or two has gone by and I've done a lot of work on this. Pulled the carburetor out, let it soak a little bit so it cleaned, got it all put back together, adjusted the float, which is inside there, and it opens and closes a little valve here so that when this bowl is full, it will close the valve so fuel stops going in. And then as you use fuel out of this bowl, as the engine's running, it opens and lets fuel back in. We've got our choke control here, which also advances your idle slightly on this old girl. There's no reason for this to not run, unless I've missed something big. So I think it's time. No reason for him not to. Let's just start out by giving him a little drink. And let's see if we can get some fuel up here. Get him going. Keep an eye out for me. If you see fire, run. Or yell loud so I know. Stanley lives. But Stanley needs fuel. Didn't sound too bad as much as I've turned it in the past. I know we've got oil pressure. That's a good thing. Valves weren't clattering. Let's see if I can get just a little bit of choke in here. Maybe no choke at all. Give it another go. Gotta love the smell of smoke. I'm still not getting good fuel, and I suspect that has something to do with my temporary fuel tank down here. Let's just give it another little go here. Come on, you old booger. Trying not to burn the place down, although that would make for some good video, wouldn't it? I think the insurance company might have a question or two about it. All right, one more drink this time. Take 3. Stanley lives. Stanley lives when Stanley has fuel. Well, friends, that's where we're going to stop, right there. The good news is, Stanley's got fire. This will button it up. Thanks for joining me here on Pardee Shop Shenanigans. Going to air this place out a little bit, figure out what's going on with fuel delivery. We'll be back next week. And I don't know if I'll have Stanley moving under his own power yet, because I've still got some clutch and brake issues. But by golly, he's making smoke. Hey, if you enjoy what you're seeing, hit that like button down here, would you? Subscribe, tell a friend or 10, and leave some comments in the feedback there for me if you would. I like your feedback. Be honest, but be kind. I wonder if I can get a gas mask.